How is everybody? We're going to read from this little book that I bought, William Wordsworth, called the Lucy Poems. Table of contents, there's Who Was Lucy? An excerpt. Well, William Wordsworth's little biography. Then Who Was Lucy? Strange fits of passion have I known. She dwelled among the untrodden ways. I traveled among unknown men. 3 years she grew in sun and shower. And the last one, a slumber did my spirit seal. First of all, we got a banana break time. Pew, pew, pew. So this is episode 20. We are... Oh, my sticker didn't do so hot. Anyway, I didn't go live last week because we were on vacation. We went to the Oregon coast, well, and part of the Washington coast. We stayed right in Astoria. The first day, we traveled up across the Columbia and went into Washington and went to the lighthouse and Lewis and Clark museum. And then next day we went down and saw the Tillamook in the Tillamook town and saw the Tillamook cheese creamer, which is cool because they send cheese to the factory that I work at. We don't make the cheese in our factory. We package it and then ship it out, and I work in the warehouse end after they've packaged it, and we send it on trucks. Anyway, that was cool to go see that. And then we stopped at Seaside and Haystack Rock and looked at where the Goonies, the Haystack Rock's the Goonies rock. Anyway, and then the last day we drove down to Depot Bay and went on a whale watching boat and went out into the ocean. And that was really fun, except that my 11-year-old got sick and threw up. So that was a bummer. But it was fun. He saw jellyfish. Well, he pointed one out. He's seen two, and the last one, when he was spitting out his puke, and pointed it out, and didn't have my camera going. And I tried to catch. We saw whales blowing, but they didn't like surface for very long. And it's kind of the wrong time of year. There's like whales that stay there all the time, but not ones that it's better. Sorry, from May to September, I think. Anyway, we plan to go back. We had a blast. I loved it. I could live there. But anyway, I took some poetry books and I did read them, but we were just so go. I didn't have time to make a video, and plus it's hard, but find a quiet time to myself to do it. Anyway, maybe I'll try to do another one to make up, because this is technically the 22nd week I've done this. But I missed 1 week for being sick, and then last week we were on vacation. So I should do a couple episodes and get caught up. Anyway, we're going to do the Lucy poems, like I said. I have a niece her name's Lucy. But she doesn't spell it Lucy. She spells it Lucie, I believe. So, yeah. Don't forget to watch some shorts. I did put a sunset from the beach. Well, I did swim in the ocean too on our way back from the whale watching tour. So that was fun. It's cold, super cold. Brooklyn Brown, thank you very much. What else? We had a great place called Moe's. Be sure to thumbs up. Thanks for stopping in. Yeah, just telling about our trip, why I didn't go live last week because I was on vacation. So, anyway, that's that. But like, subscribe, share us out. Tuesdays are still our mornings that come in and called a poem a day series. I don't do every day, but that's what I recommend, and I do pretty much read a poem a day, and if not more. And I'd like to get where I'm writing every day, but we'll work up to that. And I probably should start sharing some of my poetry. So we're going to start out, read about William Wordsworth. Mr. Wordsworth had a dignified manner with a deep and roughish but not unpleasing voice, and an exalted mood of speaking. He had a habit of keeping his left hand in the bosom of his waistcoat, and in this attitude, except when he turned around to take one of the subjects of his criticism from the shelves, for his contemporaries were there also, he sat dealing forth with eloquent but hardly Catholic judgments. Walter Scott said that the eyes of Burns were the finest he ever saw. I cannot say the same of Mr. Wordsworth. That is, not in the sense of the beautiful or even of the profound, but certainly I never beheld eyes which looked so inspired and supernatural. They were like fires, half burning, half smoldering, with a sort of acrid fixture of regard, and seated at the further end of two caverns. One might imagine Ezekiel or Isaiah to have had such eyes, the finest eyes in every sense of the word, which I have ever seen in a man's head, and I have seen many fine ones, are those of Thomas Carlyle, 1815. An excerpt from the autobiography of Leigh Hunt, 1850. His features were large and not suddenly impressive. They conveyed little idea of the poetic fire usually associated with brilliant imagination. His eyes were mild and uplooking, his mouth coarse rather than refined, his forehead high rather than broad. But every action seemed considerate, and every look self possessed, while his voice, low in tone, had that persuasive, eloquent which invariably moved men. 1832. An excerpt from Memories of Great Men, 1871, by Anna Maria Hall. He, Wadsworth, talked well in his way, with veracity, very brevity, with veracity, easy brevity, and force, as a wise tradesman would of his tools and workshop. And no one wise one could. His voice was good, frank, and sonorous, though practically clear, distinct, and forcible, rather than melodious. The tone of him businesslike, sedately confident, no discourtesy, yet no anxiety about being courteous. A fine, wholesome, rusticity, fresh as his mountain breezes, sat well on the stalwart veteran, and on all he said and did. You would have said he was a usually taciturn man, glad to unlock himself to audience sympathetic and intelligent when such offered itself. His face bore marks of much, not always peaceful, meditation. The look of it not bland or benevolent, so much as close, impregnable, and hard. A man multa tasser laquiv parisus. That's Latin. In a world where he had experienced no lack of contradictions as he strode along. The eyes were not very brilliant, but they had a quiet clearness. There was enough of brow and well-shaped, rather too much of cheek, horse face, I have heard satirists say, face of squarish shape and decidedly longish, as I think the head itself was, its length going horizontal. He was large boned, lean, but still firm knit, tall, and strong looking when he stood. A right good old steel gray figure, with rustic simplicity and dignity about him, and a vivacious strength looking through him, which might have suited one of those old steel gray markgrafs whom Henry the Fowler set up to ward the marches and do battle with the heathen in a stalwart and judicious manner. An excerpt from Reminiscence, 1881, by Thomas Carlyle. Who was Lucy? An excerpt from the collected writings of Thomas de Quincey, 1896. It was a Alfoxden that Miss Mary Hutchinson's visited her cousins, the Wadsworths, and there, or previously in the north of England, at Stockton upon Tees and Darlington, that the attachment began between Miss Mary Hutchinson and Wadsworth, which terminated in their marriage about the beginning of the present century. The marriage took place in the north, somewhere, I believe, in Yorkshire, and immediately after the ceremony, Wadsworth brought his bride to Grashmere, in which most lovely of English valleys he had previously attained. Upon a lease of 7 or 8 years, the cottage in which I found him living at my first visit to him in November 1807. I have heard that there was a paragraph inserted on this occasion in the Morning Post or Courier, and I have an indistinct remembrance of having once seen it myself, which described this event of the poet's marriage in the most ludicrous terms of silly pastoral sentimentality, the cottage being described as the abode of content and all the virtues, the vale itself in the same puerile slang. And the whole event in the style of allegorical trifling about the muses, etc. The masculine and severe taste of Wadsworth made him peculiarly open to annoyance from such absurd trifling, and unless his sense of the ludicrous overpowered his graver feelings, he must have been much displeased with the paragraph. But after all, I have understood that the whole affair was an unseasonable jest of Coleridge's or Lamb's. To us, who in after years were Wadsworth's friends, or at least intimate acquaintances, vice to Professor Wilson and myself, the most interesting circumstance in this marriage, the one which perplexed and us exceedingly, was the very possibility that it should ever have been brought to bear. For we could not conceive of Wadsworth as submitting his faculties to the humilities and devotion of courtship. That self-surrender and that prostration of mind by which a man is too happy and proud to express the profundity of his service to the woman of his heart. It seemed a mere impossibility that ever Wadsworth should be brought to feel for a single instant, and what he did not sincerely feel, assuredly he was not the person to profess. Wadsworth, I take it upon myself to say, had not the feelings within him which make this total devotion to a woman possible. There never lived a woman whom he would not have lectured and admonished under circumstances, that should have seemed to require it, nor would he have conversed with her in any mood whatever without wearing an air of mild condescension to her understanding, to lie at her feet, to make her his idol, to worship her very capricious, and to adore the most unreasonable of her frowns. These things were impossible to Wadsworth, and being so, never could he, in any emphatic sense, have been a lover. A lover, I repeat, in any passionate sense of the word, Wadsworth could not have been. And moreover, it is remarkable that a woman who could dispense with that sort of homage in her suitor is not a nature to inspire such a passion. That same meekness which reconciles her to the tone of superiority and freedom in the manner of her suitor, and which may afterwards in a wife become a sweet domestic grace, strips her of that too charming irritation, captivating at once and tormenting, which lurks in feminine pride. If there be an enchantress spell yet surviving in this age of ours, it is the haughty grace of maidenly pride, the womanly sense of dignity, even when most in excess and expressed in the language of scorn, which tortures a man and lacerates his heart at the same time that it pieces him with admiration. Oh, what a world of scorn looks beautiful in the contempt and anger of his lips. Whew. And she was spared, and she who spares a man the agitations of this thraldom robs him no less of its divinest transports. Wordsworth, however, who never could have laid aside his own nature sufficiently to have played his part in such an impassioned courtship, by suiting himself to this high sexual pride with the humility of a lower, quite as little could have enjoyed the spectacle of such a pride, or have viewed it in any degree as an attraction. It would to him have been a pure vexation, looking down even upon the lady of his heart, as upon the rest of the world, from the reminiscence of his own intellectual's superiority. Viewing her, in fact, as a child, he would be much more disposed to regard any airs of feminine disdain she might assume as the impertinence of girlish levity. Oh, goodness. Impertinence of girlish levity, that as the caprice of womanly pride, and much I fear that in any case of dispute he would have called even his mistress child, and perhaps even, but this I do not say with the same certainty, might have bid her hold her tongue. If, however, no lover, in a proper sense, though from many exquisite passengers, one which received that at some time of his life he was as especially from the inimitable stanzas beginning, when she I loved was strong and gay, and like a rose in June. Or perhaps, but less powerfully so, because here the passion, though profound, is less the peculiar passion of love, from the impassioned lamentation for sorry Lily, the pretty Barbara, beginning. 'Tis said that some have died for love, and here and there amidst unhallowed ground, in the cold north, etc. Yet if no lover, or which some of us have sometimes thought, a lover disappointed at some earlier period by the death of her he loved, or by some other fatal event, for he always preserved a mysterious silence on the subject of that Lucy, repeatedly alluded to or apostrophized in his poems. At all events, he made what for him turned out a happy marriage. Few people have lived on such terms of entire harmony and affection as he lived with the woman of his final choice. Indeed, the sweetness, almost unexampled, of temper, which shed so sunny a radiance over Mrs. Wadsworth's manners, sustained by the happy life she led, the purity of her conscience, and the uniformity of her good health, made it impossible for anybody to have quarreled with her, and whatever fits of ill temper Wadsworth might have, for with all his philosophy, he had such fits, met with no fuel to support them, except in the more irritable temperatures of his sister. She was, oh my gosh, she was all fire and an auburn which, like that of the First Lord Shaftesbury, over informed its tenement of clay. And as this ardor look out in every gleam of her wild eyes, those wild eyes, so finely noticed in the Tinnery Abbey, as it spoke in every word of her self-baffled utterance, as it gave a trembling movement to her very person and demeanor. Easily enough it might happen that any apprehension of any unkind word should with her kindle a dispute. It might have happened, and yet, to the great honor of both, having such impassioned temperaments, rarely it did happen, and this was the more remarkable, as I have been assured that both were in childhood irritable or even ill-tempered, and they were constantly together, for Miss Wadsworth was always ready to walk out, wet or dry, storm or sunshine, night or day, whilst Mrs. Wadsworth was completely dedicated to her marital duties, and rarely left the house unless when the weather was tolerable, or at least only for short rambles. I should not have noticed this trait in Wadsworth's occasional manners, had it been gathered from domestic or confidential opportunities. The Lucy poems. Stranger fits of passion have I known. Stranger fits of passion have I known, and I will dare to tell, but in the lover's ear alone, what once to me befell. When she I loved looked every day, fresh as a rose in June, I to her cottage bent my way, beneath an evening moon. Upon the moon I fixed my eyes, all over the wide lay, with quickness pace my horse drew nigh, those paths so dear to me. And now we reached the orchard plot, and as we climbed the hill, the sinking moon to Lucy caught, came near and nearer still. In one of those sweet dreams I slept, kind nature's gentlest boon, and all the while my eyes I kept on the descending moon. My horse moved on, Hoof after hoof he raised and never stopped. When down behind the cottage roof, at once the bright moon dropped, and found wayward thoughts will slide into a lover's head. Oh, mercy! To myself I cried, if Lucy should be dead. First published in the second edition of Lyrical Ballads, Volume 2, 1800. Rosy bones. Hey, girls. Come on, Lily. Lily, come on. Come on. Lily, come on. Lily, come on. Girls, stay there. Good girls. Lily, come on. Lily. Lily. Hurry up, Lily. Lily, come on. Come on. Uh-oh, where's my keys? Gotta do it to the keys. Nice. Get back. Well, I need to concentrate on driving with the puppies. So everybody, thanks for coming. Lily, thanks ya. Hi, Lily. All right, thanks for coming, everybody. Okay, well, been on for a little bit. I'm gonna put it on mute, so. And I've waited forever. Whoa. Dust in my eyes taking those puppies in. All right, put you in the pocket here. No puppies. All day long you'll have. Enjoy it. Oh, they'll be gone all day. Your mom pick them up. I was talking to Giz that she's not gonna have to worry about them all day. Look at you. That's you. Can you see you? Can you see you? Hmm. Where you going? Where you going? Well, just about made it an hour. At this point, that's kind of the goal, I guess. Ooh. That's the one I like.